Good morning. Happy Friday. We made it to Friday, folks. I hope everybody's happy and having a good day, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. So, Big Jim Finch is kind of, I don't want to say upset, but miffed, irritated, annoyed, some low level of that, because he bought and paid for a copy of a document that had Lane Meyer's birthday on it. And he took the time and effort to redact it so that the birth date was gone. Now, birthdays really aren't that big of a deal, in my opinion. There's not a lot you could do with just a birthday other than really assist someone in finding more public records about a person. With just a name and a birthday, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to get access to a lot of like financials and things like that. But it is something that someone can use against a person, right? So I haven't put my birthday out there. No one knows, at least non-family, I guess. No one knows my birthday, right? So he's miffed because he redacted all this stuff. And then one of Lane's friends, has gone and posted it without the redaction. Now, the thing that I have been saying for quite a while is that Lane's friends aren't really his friends because they're doing things to hurt him. You're like, well, John, you're making videos about his stuff. Well, yeah, but I'm only covering what he's put out there in public records. The authorities know what he's put out there in public records. It's part of his probation conditions. They have to have access to his social media. They know what he's put out there, presumably. So there's nothing that I've put out that they don't know, right? But Lane's friends are putting out things that they're not supposed to have. Like, apparently, Lane got a copy of a document or a interview or something like that then Lane's friends posted. And the only way they could have got it is from Lane. Somehow, some way, they got it from Lane. And you're going to say, well, they might have got it, from somebody else who got it from somebody else who got it from Lane. Great. One of the issues is Lane isn't supposed to have contact with these people. He's not supposed to have contact. He's not supposed to have communications with them. And you see this a lot in like civil harassment or domestic violence restraining orders. When they say there's no communications, you can't communicate with the protected party. They mean directly or indirectly. In California, it's spelled out directly or indirectly. You can't use third parties to get information to someone you're not supposed to have communications with. I'm going to assume that Arizona kind of follows the same general rule. If you're not supposed to communicate with someone, that means not only direct communications, but indirect communications. You can't attach something to a carrier pigeon and send it off, and then magically, when the person who you wanted to get the communication got the communication, it came from a third party. I wasn't in control of the carrier pigeon. It doesn't really work that way. That argument doesn't carry a lot of weight. I mean, maybe it could convince a judge. I don't think it will. And then you add on to the fact that, his friends are showing up and publishing stuff about this. I mean, they're very well connected too. They understand what's going on. They're putting out communications on how to communicate with Lane Myers. And if you don't think that the jail authorities are monitoring those communications, those text messages, whatever, through the app, you've got another thing coming. So Lane hopefully will show the discipline to not say anything stupid on them. I mean, if I remember correctly, he did it the last time he was in jail. There were issues with his communications while he was in jail, if I remember correctly. And again, I don't study Lane Myers. I mean, I know I've been making videos on him, but this is just like memories and things like that. So, I'm sure Lane could like try to pick holes in what I'm saying. But I think I remember issues with communications he was having from jail. Like, dude, these are recorded. Not just what he sends out, but what he receives in are being recorded and monitored. All the phone calls from jail are going to be monitored, recorded. Like, I don't know why people are so stupid that they don't figure this out. Like, just don't say anything. Like, you have the right to remain silent. The only question is, do you have the ability Apparently, Lane Myers doesn't. So Lane Myers was saying, apparently, allegedly, it has been reported that the issue that the POs have with the probation officers have with Lane is that he showed an old video on one of his live streams where in the old video it showed the chat and the old chat, and the old chat had these people who he's not supposed to have contact with in it. Oh, these probation officers are so stupid. Well, I seem to remember in the terms and conditions of probation that Lane Myers was supposed to take down all of the old videos about the victim. Now, if he's showing one of those old videos, it has now been republished. It is now up again. It is not what I like to call taken down. And I don't even really think that any of this really matters much. Because again, if the allegations are true, he was saying the victim's name. He was pretending that he was talking about other people, but in the context, apparently, he was talking about the victim and just pretending he was talking about other famous people with that name. He put up pictures of the victim. How do you get around that? I don't know. He's retarded. He was alluding to the victim, the person whose name I can't say. I mean, there's a case about it with my name on it, but I can't talk about it. You know who the person is that I can't say, but you know who I'm referring to. I put a 1 in chat if you know who I'm referring to. This is, of course, if the transcription that Really Cool News put up, read by Pants apparently, not Big Jim Finch. If that AI transcript was correct, and if Pants read it correctly, I mean, if those allegations are true, like Myers is hosed, it doesn't come down to just that one little thing, even if true, but even that might work against him, because dude, you're supposed to take those down, not put them back up. And here's the real kicker, the real kick in the pants for Lane Myers. The burden of proof on the state to prove the probation violations is preponderance of the evidence. That's essentially a coin flip plus a fraction more. Any 50+% to 49 plus, but less than 50% is a win for the state. It's a very low burden of proof. They had to prove if they had gone to trial, if Lane Myers had not pled guilty, all you Lane Myers fans, just keep chewing on that. He pled guilty. He knew all the facts and evidence against him, and he made a rational decision to plead guilty. You don't plead guilty if you think you're going to win. It's not like it was costing him anything. He had a public defender appointed as elbow counsel. That wasn't costing him anything. And he was representing himself. That doesn't cost him anything. If he thought he'd win, why'd he plead guilty? He didn't think he'd win. That's why. But be that as it may, it's not beyond a reasonable doubt, which is, in theory, a very high standard of proof. It is a much lower standard of proof. Burdens of proof, the most rigorous one is beyond a reasonable doubt. Then clear and convincing. Then right at about the 50-50 mark, it's preponderance of the evidence. 50 plus any little bit. 50.00001 to 49.9999999. It is anything better than 50-50, you win on preponderance of the evidence. And then you have probable cause, and then you have reasonable suspicion way down there below it. But think of it as a coin flip. If it comes down to a coin flip, Lane Myers is going to lose. And his friends still aren't helping him by being there, by making videos about it. Imagine, if you will, a former gang member gets eligible for parole or probation, right? And they put in the terms, no association with any of the former gang. No communications with, no association with any of the former gang members. Any of your former gang's current members. And then every time anything happens to this fella, all the gang members come out to rally around him. I think it is a reasonable assumption for a human to make, and the judge is a human, that there's some communication going on. There's some association still going on. Because every time, like, the gang members all know what's going on with this dude all the time. And the gang members show up whenever dude's, in trouble or whatever. It is a reasonable assumption to make that you're like, well, that's not proof. I know. But judges are people. And people are essentially logical creatures. And we look at all the things, we're like, wait, it wouldn't make sense that these guys know everything that's going on and show up whenever Myers is in legal trouble and make videos about his legal trouble and are doing everything they can to get, funds placed on his jail tab or whatever. And, getting the word out about him and doing GoFundMes for him, if they're not having communications with him. How can you have a GoFundMe where you start a GoFundMe for a person? I'm not saying they did this, but just assuming that somebody out there did this, maybe it wasn't one of these two guys. But how can you do that without having communications with the guy? You can be like, well, maybe it's not direct. I mean, it's through GoFundMe. But again, you can't have direct or indirect communications with him if he can't have direct or indirect communications with you, is what I'm trying to say. So this is a pickle. It is a pickle. And I mean, is the state going to seek further charges? And beyond just the probation revocation. I understand that Lane's motion to modify the terms and conditions of his probation has been, that date has been vacated and hasn't yet been reset. I have a feeling it hasn't yet been reset because the judge is going to be like, you know what? We're going to see what's going to happen on this probation violation before I set this hearing on the petition to modify, because it might be moot. It might no longer matter because you might not be on probation at that point, son. I'm not saying I'm not going to say my experience, but from what I have seen, from communications I've had, etc., oftentimes these people are given a lot of chances, a lot of second chances, a lot of third chances. They're given a lot of chances because, the state looks at it like, do I want to put this person in jail where he's just a cost, where we're not getting anything out of this, and we might be turning a less hardened criminal into a more hardened criminal by doing it? Or do we want to have him out there and just have him, be watched just to make sure that he's not really going to be a danger to society? And they tend to err on the freedom part. They tend to err on letting him out. But there's, generally speaking, going to be harsher conditions each time. Chauncey Hollingberry, I think he wasn't allowed to have a computer with access to the internet or a phone with access to the internet. If I remember correctly, Chauncey Hollingberry had pretty strict probation requirements. Now, his was a federal probation. I mean, he was in Arizona, but his was a federal probation. So, there is going to be some difference there, but there's a lot of room. I mean, Lane Myers could get just harsher restrictions where he's not allowed to have a phone or a computer that connects to the internet or have access to one. So, I mean, things get worse. Speaking of phones and computers, by the way, Lane Myers has to consent to searches, and I would not be shocked if he gave the probation officer access to his computer and his phone. So any communications that are there at all with the two people he's not supposed to have any contact with, I mean, if he did it using that computer or that phone, I mean, the probation officer probably is aware of it. And it's probably not just chats from an old live stream. And another thing is, Lane Myers was apparently recording and saving all of his live streams. So they have all those. Even though he deleted them off YouTube, they probably have them. And if they don't have them, they probably will have them. You know, if he said no, they probably are they probably either have got a warrant or are getting a warrant to get those things if they feel like they need those to prove their cases. But I mean, it's not looking good for our boy Lane Myers. It is usually not recommended to commit crimes in the first place. But if you are going to commit crimes, it is a terrible idea to record them. And it's an even worse idea to then save the recordings, because that means that people can get them. Law enforcement can get them. Always in cash, never in writing. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.